But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying, kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia, they're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation.
There are no Afrikaners who have been killed here in South Africa. It's not true. And there are no 49 Afrikaners who left South Africa. You all know that. It's a fiction. It's drama. America with drama is number one.
A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching is from. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk about something that's very serious, and it has been making headlines all over. And I want you guys to resonate with me. Okay, so what happens when a nation's painful past collide with its uncertain present? Today, we're going to take a hard look at one of the most controversial and, of course, emotionally charged issues in South Africa. That is land ownership, racial identity, and political rhetoric. In one corner, we have the firebrand voices calling out for land expropriation without compensation, and delivering violent threats against white farmers. Words like kill the Boer, cut the throats of the whiteness, and shoot to kill are not just headlines. They are rallying cries from political platforms. And in the other hand, we have global figures like the current president of the United States, President Donald Trump, expressing alarm over what he describes as targeted campaign of land confiscation and violence. Trump accused South Africa of allowing white farmers to be murdered, and called out mainstream media for allegedly ignoring it. So, on the other hand, there is the President Ramaphosa from South Africa attempting to walk the tightrope, acknowledging the legacy of apartheid and the need for land reform, while at the same time denouncing violent rhetoric and emphasizing constitutional integrity. So, the issue is not just about land. It's about identity, power, fear, justice, and of course, survival. So, guys, I'll urge you to stick with me because we're going to unpack these narratives, analyze the motivations behind the rhetoric, and ask the hard questions. Is this a moment of liberation or a descent into retribution? Who is telling the truth and who is weaponizing the past? Because this is not just a South African issue, it is a global warning, and you'll want to see how it all connects. So sit back, relax, and let us unpack this chaos. I'll be back with my further analysis. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel.
But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying, kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia, they're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media We don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
We discussed USAID and the devastating impact the cuts are having across the African continent.
Yeah, well, it's devastating, and hopefully a lot of people are going to start spending a lot of money. And I've talked to other nations. We want them to chip in and spend money too. And we've spent a lot, and it's a tremendous problem going on in many countries. A lot of problems going on. The United States always gets the request for money. Nobody else helps, as you know. Europe doesn't help. Europe hasn't given anything. All they do is sue our companies. You know, they sue Apple, and they sue all of our companies. Apple had to pay $17 billion on a nonsense lawsuit. Very unfair. But we're going to always be there to help.
The Afrikaner Exchequer rights to South African broadcasting. If this Afrikaner resettlement issue is resolved, we're going to go into a room after this. You guys are going to talk. If it is resolved, what is the potential for the future-looking relationship between the United States?
It's got to be resolved. It should be resolved. I mean, it's a little bit bad when you see a stadium with 100,000 people in it, because that means it's more than just a little movement. It's a pretty big movement in South Africa. So it has to be resolved. It'll be the end of the country if it's not resolved.
But is there potential for the relationship moving forward?
I hope so. That's why I'm here. I mean, I'm not here for my health. I'm here to see what it is. No, I'd like to see. I have friends. I can tell you, Ernie Els and Retief Goosen, they feel so strongly they wanted to be here on behalf of South Africa, not on behalf of me. And, you know, they said, can we be here for this? Because they love the country. Ernie, do you guys want to say a couple of words? I hate to put you in this. This is tougher than sinking a 3-footer. And just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are. So whatever we want to do, we can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament.
Yes, Honorable Member. Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill the mother, kill the poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer.
The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Suri will not be touched. They will be touched, no one. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
Shoot to kill Yamasa, kill the brewer, the farmer, kill the brewer, the farmer. Shoot to kill Yamasa, kill the brewer, the farmer, kill the brewer, the farmer.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we've not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
You'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter. They freak out. It sounds like a genocidal activity.
Who will expropriate land without compensation, whether they like it or not. If they object, they can seek refugee in America.
Now this is very bad. These are burial sites right here. Burial sites. Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who was killed. And it's a terrible sight. I've never seen anything like it. Both sides of the road you have crosses. Those people were all killed. Let me see the articles, please, if you would. But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that. They don't want to talk about it, but now they have to talk about it. But they won't. This won't even be a subject. They'll have him talking about why did a country give a free, think of this, why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? Okay, the United States, not to me, to the United States Air Force, so they could help us out, because we need an Air Force One until since Air Force One is being built, 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I'd take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are
and this is precisely what we would also like to talk about, including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States,
those are all recent. Those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should say you are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns, and these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about. Let me just add quickly, you know, the criminality that we are experiencing in our country needs quite a lot of technological capability. And in one of our areas in South Africa, we're using US technology, which is able to, in many ways, identify where shootings are happening and all that. And I'd like to talk about that, because there is support that we can get from you as the United States to help us deal with all these acts of criminality. And that is what I believe partnership is all about. And we are here as a partner so that we can help each other whenever there are challenges. So I'd like us to discuss it, and of course outside of the media, so that we sit down and have a really good discussion that will lead to good outcomes.
Are there any other further punitive measures that could be in place should you not be satisfied that South Africa is fixing some of the very bad things, in inverted commas, that you tweeted are happening?
Well, there are a lot of bad things happening, and many countries, but this in particular has been very, very bad, very bad. And because of, we're going to have the whole world watching in another short period of time because you have the G20, and that's a big deal. And it seems like, I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
Very good.
But we have hundreds of people, thousands of people trying to come into our country because they feel they're going to be killed and their land is going to be confiscated. And you do have laws that were passed that gives you the right to confiscate land for no payment. You can take away land for no payment.
I want to clarify that because we have a constitution. Our constitution guarantees and protects the sanctity of tenure of land ownership. And that constitution protects all South Africans with regard to land ownership. However, we do say, because we've got to deal with the past, the government, and as your government also has the right to expropriate land for public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
From them. And those people, in many cases, are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that. How do you explain that? They're taking people's land away, and in many cases, those people are being executed. And in many cases, it's not the government that's doing it. It's people that kill them and then take their land, and nothing happens to them. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country. They're also going to Australia in a smaller number. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country, and they're white farmers, and they feel that they're going to die in South Africa, and it's a bad thing. Yeah, please.
What can South Africa do? What concessions would you like to see them make to improve relations with the United States? Then I have one more for President Ramaphosa afterwards.
Well, we just spoke about it. I got them a very, very complex machine, 150 of them. I was asked by the president if he could help, and I did that. And, I have great feeling for all countries. I deal with all countries. But I have a great feeling for South Africa because I have friends. I have a couple of friends, a few friends here today. I have many friends from South Africa. But many of those friends are not, they can't go back. I have, Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved. That's all I have to do, get him into another thing. But Elon happens to be from South Africa. This is what Elon wanted. He actually came here on a different subject, sending rockets to Mars, okay? Yes. He likes that better. He likes that subject better. But Elon is from South Africa, and I don't want to talk to him about that. I don't think it's fair to him.
That's right.
But I will say that people are fleeing South Africa for their own safety. Their land is being confiscated, and in many cases they're being killed. And that scene of, you see how many crosses they have. Those crosses, that's a dead person in every one of them. And those trucks or cars are paying their respects to all of those dead people on a Sunday morning. That's a rough thing to explain away. And the problem we have, and the way, a correct and a fair media exposes things. But we have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it. All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa, and it's a big problem. Marco Rubio was telling me he's never seen anything like it. The numbers of people that want to leave South Africa because they feel they're going to be dead very soon.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was going to
please.
say,
Brian, go.
If I could just ask you a question. 72% of farmers in your country are white. If they flee, do you feel that maybe the economy could collapse? You may not have a gap to fill in those people that need to replace those farmers.
I'd like my Minister of Agriculture, who is white, who comes from opposition party to mine, who's joined my government at my invitation to address this very issue, including the question that you've just raised. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us to the White House. I would say we have a rural safety problem in South Africa. I don't think anyone wants to candy coat that. And it requires a lot of effort to get on top of it. It's going to require more policing resources. It's going to require a different strategy to be able to deal with it. But certainly the majority of South Africa's commercial and smallholder farmers really do want to stay in South Africa and make it work. And I've just come from the largest agricultural show in the Southern Hemisphere with organized agriculture and farmers, and the majority of them want to stay. But they too, there have a memorial to those who've died as a result of farm attacks. And as the Minister of Agriculture, it is something that I'm particularly exercised with my colleagues at police and my colleagues in the justice cluster to start making farm attacks and stock theft a priority crime. And it affects all farmers in South Africa, particularly stock theft. It has a disproportionate effect on smallholder black farmers. I also want to just say this, that the two individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition minority parties in South Africa. Mkhonto Wesizwe under Mr. Zuma and the Economic Freedom Fighters under Mr. Malema. Now the reason that my party, the Democratic Alliance, which has been an opposition party for over 30 years, chose to join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa's party was precisely to keep those people out of power. We cannot have those people sitting in the union buildings making decisions. And that is why after 30 years of us exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other, we've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government. Because the day they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our Parliament, that's what you're going to see. And that is why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union bodies, because then South Africa's future will be...
So you denounced that type of language in the video that you saw?
Oh yes, we've always done so. As government, as my own party, we are completely opposed to that. We, in 1955, adopted a document which said South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
Why wouldn't you arrest that? He's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia, they're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless, it's valueless, and they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media, we don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
Will you discuss USAID and the devastating impact the cuts are having across the African continent?
You know, it's devastating, and hopefully a lot of people are going to...
So let's look deeper into the ideologies and the narratives shaping this storm. Julius Malema, the leader of economic freedom fighters, is no stranger to controversy. His message is clear. The land was stolen and it must be reclaimed by any means necessary. South Africans shouldn't ask permission to occupy land. He frames it as a revolutionary act, and revolutions, he argues, demand violence. Whether Malema truly means every word he uses shock value to galvanize support, the consequences are real. statements like cutting the throat of whiteness don't just provoke, they incite. Of course, you know that. But Malema doesn't stop there. He denies that white farmers are being killed, are being killed or fleeing. He calls those claims drama and fiction. And according to him, if a farm is empty, it's not abandonment. It's an invitation to, for distribution. In contrast, images and reports from various sources tell a darker story. Fields of white crosses marking the death of white farmers. Testimonies of fear, thousands claiming they are fleeing not just economic hardship, but execution. Then here comes Donald Trump. He called out South Africa directly, accusing the government of seizing land and allowing the murder of white farmers. He claimed the media was silent because the victims were white, a reversal of the global narrative on racial injustice. If you understand this, you know what I mean. Was Trump politicizing tragedy, or was he finally saying what others were afraid to voice? President Cyril Ramaphosa, caught between global scrutiny and internal pressure, has tried to clarify. He insists the South African constitution protects land rights and condemns all forms of violence. But he also firmly states that land expropriation will move forward to deal with the past. And according to his Minister of Agriculture, farm attacks affect all racial groups. And the stock theft devastates small black farmers disproportionately. So who is being protected here, and who is being sacrificed? Tell me in the comments. But before that, I want us to go deeper to this rabbit hole. Stay tuned. Remember, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share this this content. What we are seeing is not just a policy debate. It's a generational trauma spilling into political sphere. Land in South Africa is more than economic value. It's ancestral, cultural, and extension. Remember, during apartheid, black South Africans were systematically dispossessed. For many, reclaiming land is reclaiming dignity. All who know history know about what happened in South Africa, because up to 80% is owned by the white people. But the method matters, and that's where the lines blur and blood is shed. If land redistribution becomes synonymous with vengeance, then the very soul of justice is lost. When leaders say shoot to kill and kill the farmer, they don't spark reform. They ignite fear and chaos. Remember, this is an educational video, and I don't want to take sides. So, when white farmers flee, calling their farms valueless and death traps, it's not just about economic impact. It's a collapse of trust in the state's ability to ensure safety and equality under the law. Now, let us consider the economic impact. White farmers make up to 72% of South Africa's agricultural production. If they leave, the ripple effect could be catastrophic. Food security, exports, and employment could all take a nosedive, barely upwards. But is the solution to do nothing? To let historical injustice fester because justice might offend the present? Of course not. And the solution is to balance. The government's constitutional framework allows for expropriation for public use, but it must be lawfully fair and inclusive. It must build, not ban. Yet, this balance is threatened by political parties that weaponize pain for popularity, and it's compounded by a media environment that often fails to report nuance. One side screams oppression, the other screams retribution, and truth gets drowned out, of course. There is also an international dimension. Thousands of South Africans are applying for refuge elsewhere, Australia, the US. Trump's comments reflect this growing global concern, but here's the catch. International pressure without local context can make things worse. It can be seen as a neocolonial interference, especially when it singles out white suffering and ignores broader rural insecurity. So, where do we go from here? First, South Africa must confront its past without becoming a prisoner to it. Land reform is vital, but it must not be rooted in racial hatred. Second, leaders on all sides must stop using fire to fight fire. Provocative speech may win applause in stadiums, but of course it costs lives in the countryside. Third, the media must step up, not with clickbait, but with clarity, just like as we are doing here. They must hold all sides accountable, not just the politically convenient ones. And finally, we as global citizens must resist the urge to oversimplify. This is not black versus white or right versus left. It's a nation trying to heal a wound that is still bleeding. And every voice, every policy, every protest either helps stitch the wound or it might even tear it wider. Guys, if you've made it this far, thank you, because conversations like this, tough, uncomfortable, honest, are how we grow. The land is crying, the people are shouting, and the world is watching. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you've learned something, and if you found it educative and insightful, click that subscribe button, share this message with your brother and sister, turn on post notifications, and don't forget to tell me what you think in the comments. I hope to see you in my next video. Peace and in good health. Peace out.